أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight, inshallah, we're going to go over our 12th lesson on learning how to read Quran. And tonight's lesson will cover the concept of Tanween. Tanween means when a letter has two short vowel markings. Tanween means the sound of the noon with a sakin. When a sound of a noon with a sakin is produced, this is called tanween, and tanween is produced with two short vowel markings. This means that a letter will have two fatha on top of it, or two kasra underneath it, or two dhamma on top of it. Now, if you remember, normally a vowel either has one fatha on it, or one kasra underneath it, or two dhamma on top of it, one dhamma on top of it. But with tanween, it's going to be two of each vowel marking. So we see here, this is the letter ba. On top of it, we have two fathas. This is called tanween because when we put two fatha on top of the ba, a noon sound is pronounced, and we'll see in a minute how that happens. So first, just remember that a ba will have either two, a letter. It could be ba, ta, tha, or any letter. It will have either two fatha on top of it, or it will have two kasras underneath it, or it will have two dhamma on top of it. Now, sometimes it is actually written as two dhamma like this, side by side. Or sometimes there is the shorthand that is used, like you see right here. It's written like that. Either one of these is fine, and depending on the print of the Quran that you would be reading from, it will write either one or the other, but both are the same. They both represent the same tanween, the two dhammas. So it will either have two fatha, two kasra, or two dhamma. So what happens is that this tanween adds an n sound, or we say a noon sound at the end of the vowel. So for example, here we have the letter in red, the letter ba with a fatha like we learned before. And how do we read the letter ba when it has a fatha on it? We say ba, the short vowel, ba. But what happens now that we have two fathas on top of the letter ba? We say the same vowel sound as before. It has the same vowel sound, but we add a noon sound at the end of it. So we say ban. You see, when the ba has one fatha, we say ba. But when the ba has two fatha, now what do we say? We say ban. And now this is going to be the same with the kasra and dhamm. So here on the right in red, we have the letter ba with the kasra. And how do we read a letter ba with a kasra? We say bi. But when the ba has two kasras, now we have to pronounce the tanween. So it has the same vowel, but we have to add the noon sound at the end. So we say bin. When ba has one kasra under it, we say bi. When ba has two kasra under it, we say bin. Now we move on to the dhamma. When a ba has a dhamma on top of it, we read it as bu. Now when the ba has two dhammas on top, what do you think is going to happen? Right. We have the same vowel sound, but we add the noon sound at the end. So we say bun. Ba with dhamma is read as bu. Ba with two dhamma is read as bun. So now we're going to cover the alphabet with the tanween markings, just as we did with the short vowel markings. So we're going to read through these, and it's a very good idea for those of you who are at home watching this live or watching this later on the recording. As we read these, practice by reading them out loud with us, or you can repeat them after we say them. Both are fine. And then later on, you can also practice writing them just as you practice writing the short vowels. So we're going to start slow, and then we're going to speed up a little bit. So just so we practice easily. See, here we have an alif. The first one has two fatha. We say an. This one has two dhamma. It has two kasras. We say in. And then this one has to dhamma, we say un, an, in, un. You see how we have the same vowels as last time. The fatha keeps the same vowel, the kasra keeps the same vowel sound, the dhamma keeps the same vowel sound, but we add a noon sakin sound at the end of each one of them, a noon sound at the end of each one. So this one we say an, when alif with two fathas we read an, alif with two kasras we say in, alif with two dhamma we say un. Okay. Now we have the letter ba as we said before. Ban, bin, bun. Now we're going to try the ta. Ta with two fatha, tan. Ta with two kasras is read tin. Ta with two dhammas is read as tun. So now we read it all again. Tan, tin, tun. Now we do the tha. Tha with two fatha is than. Tha with two kasras is thin. Tha with two dhammas is thun. So now let's read it all again. Than, thin, thun. Now for the next letter, the jim. Jim with two fatha is jan. Jim with two kasras is jin. Jim with two dhammas is jun. Now we read all three. Jan, jin, jun. The next letter, ha. Ha with two fathas is han. Ha with two kasras is hin. And ha with two dhammas is hun. So now we read them again. We say han, hin, hun. So now you get the idea. So for the rest of the letters, we'll just say the name of the letter so we know the proper pronunciation. And then we'll just read them as they are read with the tanween. So here we have the letter kha with two fatha, this one with two kasra, this one with two dhamma. We read it as khan. Now remember, this kha is in green because if you remember, it's one of those letters that gets read, gets pronounced full when we have a fatha on it, or we could say full or heavy. Instead of an ah sound, we add an sound. So even when it has the tanween, we still have to pronounce the proper vowel sound. So here we go. Khun, khin, khun. Next is the letter dal. The sound is d. So we say dan, din, dun. Next is the letter dal. The sound is th. So we read these three as than, then, dhun. MashaAllah. Now we go to the next page. The next letter is ra. So two fatha on the first ra, two kasra on the second, two dhamma on the third. So we read these as run, rin, run. Next is the letter za with the sound z. So we read these as zan, zin, zun. Next is the letter sin with the s sound. We read these as san, sin, sun. Next is the letter sheen. So we read these three as shan, shin, shun. And next we have the letter sad. So we read these as sun, sin, sun. And our next letter is dad. So here we have bun, bin, bun. Our next letter is ta. So we have here, now remember the letters in green must be read with a full fatha vowel sound. So here we go. Tun, tin, tun. Our next letter is dha. So here we have these three read as dhun, dhin, dhun. All right, and our next letter is ayn. And this, of course, is one of those letters that we hope you've been practicing so that you can say it correctly and that you don't pronounce it like alif or hamza. So here we go with the ayn. An, ayn, on. Our next letter is ghain with the sound gh. So here we go. Ghan, ghin, ghun. Our next letter is fa. This has the same sound as the letter F in English. So here we're going to read these three with the tanween. Fan, fin, fun. Our next letter is qaf. Qa, qa, qaf. When you read the qaf, sometimes it's hard to distinguish it from the kaf. The kaf is pronounced by pressing the tongue against the top of the mouth. And when you pronounce the qaf, it's a little bit further back behind the kaf. So try practicing those two when you have some time to make sure that you pronounce the very sound sharp of the qaf. Qa. So now we pronounce the qaf with the tanween. We say qan, qin, qun. Now we have our kaf. Kan, kin, kun. Our next letter is lam. Lan, lin, lun. Our next letter is mim. Man, min, mun. Our next letter is noon, and with tanween we read it as nan, nin, nun. Our next letter is waw. So we read this as one, win, won. And our next letter is ha, the easy soft H sound ha. We read it as han, hin, hun. And our next letter is the hamza. And this is pronounced as an, in, un. And our next letter is, and the last letter is the ya. So we pronounce these last three as yan, yin, yun. MashaAllah. So now you see how easy this is. It's the same sounds as the short vowels, except we add a noon sound at the end of every vowel sound. So this is the end of our lesson for tonight.